Hello, Wolfpack. Back on the Bitcoin chart here on the daily chart. And we got the weekly and the 4-hourly. Specifically the 4-hourly I want to look into a little bit because the 4-hourly is actually quite interesting right now, I will say. But as for the daily chart, as expected here and as outlined in the past 2 or 3 videos, the small rally we had off of the base here at 40k failed ultimately, and that was very, very obvious to see. I mean, we had significantly declining volume throughout the whole rally, and we were unable to make actual progress. We kind of just broke out a little bit, and it didn't really take back any meaningful resistance, as you can see on the 4-hourly chart here. And it's better displayed on the hourly chart, but I'm not going to look at that right now. We had a clear ascending wedge formation as well, which is very bearish, and so we could have predicted from the very start, which we actually did, that rally up to 44.5k was ultimately going to fail, and it has failed so far. But I suppose the question now that people are asking is, will we actually come back down to the 40k level, or will we make a higher low and then proceed higher upwards, right? That's the big question everyone's asking right now, and we're going to try and answer that in this video to the best of my ability. However, what I will say is that the market is in an uncertain place. And that's kind of what I've been suggesting this whole entire time. What I can do is I can tell you whether I think it's likely a move is going to play out well, like I did in the case of yesterday's move to the upside. Didn't think it was going to play out well. It didn't. However, as for the current long-term position in the market, the trend is downwards, and so we have to assume the downwards trend is going to keep going until it ends. And I am bearish in the market. I do think we're going to be heading downwards on Bitcoin for an extensive period of time. I think that as long as we are below 53k, and I've said this multiple times, I'm not going to explain it again, but I'm going to just tell you what it is. As long as we are below 53k, right, which is this line I'm going to draw here, right? As long as we are below 53k, somewhere in that region, 53k, the next logical step, right, based off the TA, objectively, right, this is not my opinion, this is objective facts of the situation. As long as we are below 53k, the next logical step is the 200-week SMA, right? And that will be happening, in my opinion, if we do go there in Q3. And so we have quite a few months to wait until that happens. We have quite a big drop to go in that period of time as well. So that's the next logical step for Bitcoin on a longer term scale. And so what we have to look at now is, will we actually get there? And the only reason the only way we can look at that is looking at shorter term. And what I will say about the daily chart right now is that we did see, or we tried to see, a bullish MACD cross. Ultimately, this red candle that we just had, this bearish engulfing red candle, would I say, which is bearish obviously, actually squashed that bullish MACD cross, and it's flattened out now. And there still is a chance we could see it if we see a big swing to the upside here, but for the most part, when you see this kind of thing happen, when you see a flat line on the MACD just before a cross, it generally takes away most of the momentum, and people are less willing to buy in due to the MACD crossing, and hence you see less of an effect on the market. So that's a point for the bears there. They've kind of squashed a bit of momentum there on Bitcoin. And what I'm kind of seeing as the next likely scenario for Bitcoin right now, as for today, I think today, on this daily candle, we are going to come up to the 9 EMA at around 43,200, test that, and then continue to the downside. That's my personal prediction for today. But what I can tell you at a medium-term scale is that we're in this crevice on the volume profile. A lot of you would have heard me say this before, but when I see a crevice on the volume profile such as this, basically, I like to use an analogy that we're in a kind of crevice between 2 mountains. We're in a valley between 2 mountains, right? Whichever way we go, it's going to be very hard to climb up. It's going to take a very long time. And so we're in an area in which we're lodged between major resistance and major support. The major resistance coming from the zone above at around 48,000, and the major support coming from that region in the 30Ks, which is just densely built with support from when we went there last. That doesn't mean we can't break down into it, though. It just means if we do, it would take a lot to bring us down, and that's why I think that dead cat bounces, like we've just seen in the past few days, and like we saw here, are necessary. Because if you're going to see a sustained bearish trend, you need to be seeing constant dead cat bounces in which the bulls who get bullish in the market again get trapped, they buy in, and then there's renewed selling pressure when the trend actually ends. And so far on every rally we've seen, and every single dead cat bounce we've seen very, very, very low volume. And that's one of the reasons why I can kind of say that I'm not confident in the bullish argument right now, just mainly because of the volume. There's no volume behind these moves. Not many people are willing to actually buy back into Bitcoin right now, and that means that altcoins aren't going to recover either, because obviously Bitcoin leads the altcoins to a certain extent, especially in a bearish phase in the market. The next logical step for Bitcoin, I mean, if you're going to take into account the bull case, what we need to be doing, I should say, is 45.5k. Once we claim 45.5k, some progress has been made. Until that point, we've made no progress. If we look over the 4-hourly chart, we can see this green box that we're in right now between around 40k and around 42 or 43k is acting as support, and it's also acting as resistance when we're within it, all right? Act as resistance here, support here, right? And we've just kind of, what we've done actually is we've dropped kind of below this support again. And so what this means is that we broke to the upside above it, which is great to see, but ultimately we've actually failed to maintain it, and we've actually come to the downside, and right now we're testing it from the bottom. And if we're unable to break back above 43k within the next 4 to 8 hours, I would expect us to trend downwards towards 40k. Although, as I said before, I do think we'll be seeing a wick upwards to the low 43k region, which would take out and test the 9 EMA and also test this block here that we have. But ultimately, I think that after this rejection, I think it's unlikely. It's unlikely that we'll see a significant move on Bitcoin over the next day. I don't think it's likely at all. But the weekly chart is very interesting right now. We have 3 days until the weekly chart closes, the weekly candle closes. And what we're seeing on Bitcoin is we've dropped below the 50-week SMA, which is incredibly bearish. And that's generally what I refer to as a bear market. Once you drop below that and close below it, I would say you're in a bear market, and we've done that. We didn't do that in July. We didn't do that in October or September, sorry, but we've done it now, and hence technically I think we're in a bear market. And you can say all you want that I don't think we're in a bear market because we're holding this and this and this, but at the end of the day, if you went back to where you were in early November when we were at 68k, almost 70k, and you said we're going to go down to 40k in 2 months, you would say that was a bear market territory. And just because your bias in the market has changed doesn't change the objective reality of a situation. The objective reality of a situation is that it doesn't really, just because we're in a bear market, it doesn't mean it needs to last for 3 years. Bear markets don't need to last for 3 years. I explained this in the last video. That's a very crypto-orientated mindset. Bear markets can last for a few weeks. They don't have to be 3-year long kind of drawn out death, everything dies. That's not really what a bear market is. We're down 42%, 43% from the all-time highs. We've dropped below critical support on many occasions. We're in a bear market. And so there's no need to be scared of that word. It doesn't mean we can't flip back bullish. It's just the objective reality. But what I am seeing right now on Bitcoin as the next major support, it's coming from the Ichimoku cloud. And that Ichimoku cloud, luckily for the bulls, is acting in the same region as the 40k. Sorry, let me draw it out. The 40k to 43k support zone. That is the support zone we're holding in terms of price action, and the Ichimoku cloud is in that region as well. And so there is a dense amount of support on Bitcoin, and I'm not saying there isn't. And I'm certainly not saying that we couldn't see something here. We couldn't see something like this. We could see that for sure. However, I think that regardless of what happens, unless we break 53k, I think that the trend is ultimately going to be downwards towards this green line here, the 200-week SMA. And I don't think we're going to be breaking 53k. I don't think there's a sustained volume. I think that it's very possible that we could be seeing another further dead cat bounce from this region. A lot of people are already calling for, and this has only been happening in this region for, a week, but a lot of people are already calling for, after this recent rejection, a swing back down to the 40k lows and a W formation. What I would say to that is, yes, it's very possible. However, I would say you're falling into the same trap if you're relying on it too much as what we did here at 45.5k. A lot of people here were calling for a W formation. I would have even said that W formation seems relatively possible in that region. We could see a dead cat bounce from there, but we didn't, right? We broke downwards. Just because a setup is happening that looks promising, it doesn't mean it will actually play out. When you're in a bearish trend like we're in right now, a strong bearish trend, we haven't seen a bearish trend this strong for a while, right? Since May to July, is this sustained. When you're in a strong bearish trend, the bullish price action needs extra like support for it to, extra kind of an extra push, and you're not going to get that from a regular market. And that's why a lot of people get trapped in cryptocurrency, right? Because they come into crypto in a bull market when basically every bearish trend plays out. When if you're in a bull market, this W formation would play out and it'd take you up 15%, and it'd be very, very easy. Every triangle would break to the upside. Bearish price action is rare. When it does happen, it lasts 2 weeks and you're just going back up. We're not in that period of the market anymore, right? There isn't that amount of interest, amount of retail interest, amount of institutional interest, in price action anymore. Fundamentally, they love Bitcoin, but in price action, it's not that dense. There's not enough volume right now. And so these trends, these bearish indicators, these bullish indicators, they just act with the current trend. And the current trend is downwards overall. And this is why I advocate for people who are trying to get into market constantly to wait for something to happen. Nothing has happened, right? If you wait, as I've been saying for a long time, if you wait for 53K on Bitcoin, the next logical step is going to be 72K for reasons I've explained before. I'm actually going to bring up this chart right now so you guys can see it. I don't know if I have it, unfortunately, on my trading view right now, so I can't actually bring it up. My bad. However, I've gone over it before. If you watch one of my recent videos, I posted it 4 days ago. It's called the bull case for Bitcoin. If we break 53K, I think that we're going to 72K without a question, and possibly higher. Okay, so if you break 53K, you're securing a gain of 36% on Bitcoin. Altcoins will go up hundreds of percent. Basically, almost guaranteed. Okay, whereas if you buy in now, you're trying to secure an extra 24%. Okay, that sounds good on paper, but when you take into account the downside risk, you're trying to secure an extra 24%, and you're risking the emotional turmoil of holding when it's going down for 6 months straight, and also, probably a 50% loss. It's just not worth it in terms of risk-reward ratio. Waiting for confirmations, especially if you're an inexperienced trader, is way more logical. It makes more sense. And just, on a base level, in reality, the market isn't bullish again unless we retake 53K. This whole region we're in right now is neutral or bearish. And the only reason we'd classify it as bearish is because the market is trending downwards, right? So it's neutral. We're in a bouncing zone right now, no doubt. 40K to 43K, massive amount of support in this region. I've gone over multiple reasons why there could be bounces from this region. Doesn't mean it's going to happen though. And if it does happen, it doesn't mean it's going to take us to new all-time highs. If we see a bounce, it could take us to 45, could take us to 48, could take us to 53, right? I don't think it's going to take us above 53. If it does, I'm happy to be proven wrong because I'll just buy back into the market, right? We de-risked from the market, or at least I did, and anyone who listened to me de-risked from the market in the 66K to 63K region. By 63K, everything was sold. If we buy back at 53K, we've actually saved ourselves a 10K loss on Bitcoin. There's no reward. There's no logical reward to take from me personally buying in this region. I don't need to speculate. My speculation is that we're trending downwards and the trend is going to continue downwards until either we bottom out on the 200-week SMA or we break 53K. Until that point, I'm sitting on my hands. What's the point of trading, right? A lot of people who are new to cryptocurrency, and I've said this before in this video's turned into a bit of a rant about market psychology, but I hope you guys are enjoying it anyway. A lot of people who are new to kind of cryptocurrency get into the mindset that, it's a very fast-paced market, you can always make money, there's always opportunities. That's correct, there always are opportunities for very experienced traders who do this full-time, right? This is a financial market, it's not a game. If you're new to a financial market, it doesn't mean you can't invest in it. It just means you should wait for the market to be on easy mode, quote unquote, rather than investing when it's on quote unquote hard mode, right? Do you understand? So anyway, that's what I'm kind of trying to say here on Bitcoin. I think that as for the next day or two on Bitcoin, there's definitely a possibility that we could be making a higher low. Doesn't really bother me though. Like, I'm not too stressed about it. I'm not seeing a clear direction in the market right now. I saw yesterday that this upwards trend was unsustainable. That was very, very clear. Descending volume and a rising wedge. It was very clear that it was unsustainable. As for right now, I think it depends on the next 4 to 8 hours if we can close above this green box or not. I'm going to be posting a short-term update in about 12 hours or about 10 hours, just to give you a quick update on the short-term price action, because I like to do with Bitcoin recently, and what I've kind of planned is that I like to do one video in the morning or Australian time in the morning that goes over the longer term trend, and then one video at night, a short, quick video that goes over what's happened during the day. I think, the more content, the better, and people definitely want to see it. So thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to that video later tonight. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.